afternoon.
show you my shirt.
Yeah, Jody, this is an excellent shirt. I could just see it there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I wear this in the clinic sometimes.
Oh, that's cool. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is part 2 of Jody's recovery from replacement disc surgery. So, Jody, for those who weren't with us last time, do you want to give us your medical history?
Well, okay. Medical history was like, I guess about 3 years ago, I started to have back pain, and I went to see my osteopath, as one does. And it was, you've disappeared at the moment.
Carry on.
Okay. So 3 years ago, maybe even more, I started to have back pain, low back pain, especially on the right side. And I did the usual things. I saw the osteopath. I did exercises. It would come and go. But as time went on, it stayed. And in the last year, before my last surgery, which was about 6 weeks ago now, it was getting worse and worse, to the point where I could only see a couple of patients, and after each patient I had to lie down, and I came home and then I'd come home and see 1 or 2 people, and basically for the rest of the evening I would be lying down, because lying down was the only thing that was where it wasn't painful all the time. I had good days and bad days, but I started to have, like, every day started to be a bad day. And it was like waking up in the morning, it was like it was like climbing Mount Everest. And I was taking lots of painkillers and various things, anti-inflammatories, some paracetamol, gabapentina, a whole bunch of other things, which perhaps took the edge off it, but certainly didn't get rid of the pain. And I tried a number of different procedures before I went to the artificial disc surgery about 2 years ago. I guess I had infiltration under X-ray into the offending discs. So you go into a surgical theater as if you're going to have a surgery, you know. It's and they have an X-ray thing, so they know exactly where they're putting it. And where they put it was around the foramens of L4, L5 on both sides. And it was a combination of steroids and lidocaine, which is like a local anesthetic. And that didn't do anything. So when I went back to the doctor the next time, you know, he looked at my MRI, which is a mess. When I saw my MRI, you know, because I guess the last time I had X-rays or exams done of my back was maybe five, maybe 8 years ago, and it was pretty much okay. It was a normal back with normal degeneration. But when I saw this one, it was like really, the discs were non-existent. They were twisted. There was a scoliosis there. It was a mess. So when I went back to my surgeon, Professor George Minero, who fortunately is somebody I've known for like 30 years. When I used to work at another clinic, he was coming regularly, and I started a relationship with him, and so we're kind of like friends almost. And he's like the top surgeon. He's a top surgeon in Portugal. And he's the top surgeon in doing artificial discs. Now you've disappeared again. Am I still there?
You're still there. Keep going.
Okay. So when I went to see him the second time, he said, "Well, Jody," he said, "what are we going to do now?" And at that point, he wasn't prepared to do the artificial disc. I don't know why. So I said to him, I said, "Well, what about if you do this?" And I said, "You know, why don't you go in and clean out the foramens? because I knew that there was this procedure where they basically go in with a tube that has a camera, a laser, and a vacuum. So it goes into the foramen on either side of the vertebra, and it cleans out any fat or bone or something, anything like that that might be interfering with or pressing on the nerve. So that's a slightly bigger procedure. And the first one, I didn't have any anesthetic or anything like that. It was just a pin prick in your back. It's not a big deal. But for this one, I had a general anesthetic, which was really cool. I was in the room, I was in the ante room before going into the theater, and the anesthesiologist came and put the line into my arm, and I said, are you going to sedate me first? Because I thought I thought they'd put me asleep in the theater, right? She said, yes, we're going to sedate you. And the next thing I remember is I was dreaming about being on the beach behind me, that you can see behind me. And I was thinking about, oh, wow, this is really nice. It's really nice to you know, the sedation is really working before they bring me in. And then after a while, that was when I went in, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So after a while, I kind of opened my eyes, and I heard the nurse talking about lunch. And I said, excuse me, nurse, can I have this surgery before lunch? And she said, you've had it already. So I was back in the same place, right? Which was kind of pretty cool. And the process of going under was pleasant. So
awesome.
But that didn't
Jodi,
work.
can I interrupt you momentarily? Just if anyone's got any questions as Jodi's talking, use the reactions button to put your hand up, and then I can bring you in, or just put it in the chat and I'll ask Jodi for you.
Right.
Okay.
So you can put it in the chat, or you can just show up, whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was hoping that would work, but it didn't. It didn't work. I guess 18 months after that, I went back to George, the surgeon. We're on first name basis. And he immediately said, okay, we have to do the artificial disc. So I was kind of like, wow, you know, because the last time I'd seen him, he hadn't even mentioned that. I said, wow, let's do it. You know, I'll do it, man. I don't care. I need to be out of pain. I was, you know, I really was at the point where, like, even if I had to be in a wheelchair, I'd rather be in a wheelchair than have pain all the time.
That's pretty bad, eh?
And the only time I didn't have pain was when I was lying down. So I was lying down in between patients and, you know, all kinds of stuff. It was really, my social life was diminished, as you can imagine. I had to, and I might mention, as I mentioned to Gilly a bit earlier, that I learned a lot about chronic pain. And I started to study chronic pain and the emotional impact that it has on patients, and what are the triggers, what makes it better, what makes it worse, and how to live with it. So it really became part of my CPD, because I learned firsthand about what it's like to have long-term pain, and how depressing it is as well. And you know, thinking about living with that pain for the rest of your life is pretty depressing. And I clinically, I would say, especially in the last 6 to 9 months before the surgery, I would probably be considered to be depressed. I was a functioning depressive. And of course, you may not know, some people know who are here now. We also had a tragedy in the family, and we lost our son about 15 months ago, I guess it was now. And that was a big hit, as you can imagine. I'm not going to talk about that now, but I'd like to talk about grief and how to deal with grief at another time as well, and how we can help patients deal with grief. I mean, deep grief. So 6 weeks ago now, I had that surgery, and I was really, if you want to see an animation of the surgery, I put a video up on Osteobiz and on Mastermind as well. So you can see an animation of what the surgery entails anytime you want.
On Osteopathy Works, you put it in
On
there.
Osteopathy Works. So I don't have anything right now, but if you want to have a look at it, it's interesting. It's only about 5 minutes long, but it gives you it basically tells you how they do it, and they go in through the abdomen, which I think is really cool. And the reason they go in through the abdomen is because they don't have to cut any back muscles. And by the way, this kind of surgery was pioneered about 30 years ago in Germany. And George has been doing it for 20 years. 20 years. And he does about 3 a month, he told me. And he's more or less specializing in that now. And about 20 years ago, as he started to do these kinds of surgeries, he asked me to organize a group of osteopaths to go and visit the hospital where he works in, and he was going to do a presentation about the artificial discs. I never knew that I'd be one of the people who would actually get one of those. But that was what was great about that experience for the osteopaths and for the doctors at the hospital was that it brought them closer together. And the orthopedic surgeons got lots of referrals from the osteopaths. I think there were like 50 or 60 people who came to his lecture, and they started to create a relationship with the hospital and the orthopedic people. I think sometimes as osteopaths, we're kind of shy about having a relationship with the medical people and the orthopedic people. But orthopedic people, I think, are much easier to talk to than medical people, because they just want it to work. They don't care if you're an osteopath or what you call yourself, and they just want to know that you're safe and competent and you know what you're doing. And I get lots of referrals from medical people these days. So keep on trying. If you don't have contact with your medical colleagues, keep on trying to cultivate friendships. Go to places where doctors go, medics go, and just talk to them. Best not to talk to them about osteopathy. Just make friends with them. If you start to talk about osteopathy, they'll start to bring out their doubts and all that kind of stuff. So try to make friends with them first, and then at some point in time, talk about what you do. But anyway, that's kind of a bit of a segue, but it's good advice. Having medical friends is good for your practice. That's for sure.
Jodi,
And
last time we spoke was 2 weeks post-op, and you were still in a fair bit of pain, I think, and you were just about moving around a bit. You were nowhere near going to the gym and everything. So how are you? And 6 weeks post-op now, how's the pain and everything else?
It was since the last time we spoke here, I had gradual improvements. It was getting better and better. And I was getting a bit disappointed, actually, that it wasn't getting so much better. And then last Friday, I think it was, or the Friday before, how long ago? It was about, it was about 10 days ago. I went to revisit the surgeon who I had some swelling on my back, which he took some blood out. It happened to be blood. So he took out like about 100 milliliters of blood, and the swelling, of course, disappeared. And after that, I started to feel a whole lot better. So I was making incremental improvements, And then after I saw the doctor and he took out the liquid, I made a jump. Which is also, I mean, that's also happens sometimes with our patients as well. Patients are making incremental improvements, or they're not getting better at all. And then all of a sudden they get better. Or as one person, they called it the Torbolone, you know, Torbolone chocolates.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you sort of, oh, I'm feeling really good today. Oh gosh, I'm back again. Oh, I'm feeling really good today. You know, oh my God, the pain's back again. What did I, and patients, they're always trying to figure out, and we're trying to figure out as well, what makes it better? What makes it worse? Yesterday, this seemed to make it better. Today, it seems to make it worse. But that's the nature of our business, our art, is to kind of interpret all those things and kind of swim with that somehow. So I would say that I'm not ready to go back to the gym yet. I want to go back to the gym in 1 or 2 months, but I can walk. I can walk with for maybe probably 1 kilometer or something like that. I don't have any problem when I get up in the morning. I don't have any issues. I was having issues getting up in the morning and getting started, going down the stairs and getting back up the stairs again. Now it's easy.
Do you have any pain at all now, Jodi?
Yeah, well, as I'm sitting here, I have pain on my right side. And the other thing I had besides pain, I also had pins and needles in my legs, especially my left leg, in the distribution of the L5. I went and checked the dermatome on the map, and it was exactly, you know, going into my big toe. So, but, and the pins and needles in my legs are almost non-existent. My movement, I feel like when I walk, I feel like everything is moving again. I think that before the operation, I was having a lot of pain in my gluteus, my gluteal muscles, you know, my butt. And I think what had happened is that my gluteal muscles and my leg muscles, my hamstrings, were taking over the work of the muscles of my back. The muscles of my back just couldn't do it anymore. And I feel like the connections are made again. I'm getting stronger, and those muscles are developing again. So at this point in time, 6 weeks post-surgery, I think if I talk to you, if we have a chat in another 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I expect to be much better again. I'm not 100%, that's for sure. And I need to take it easy, and I need to be careful about bending and lifting and all that kind of stuff. But I'm definitely on the way, and my mood has changed as well. Now,
Jodi, Cheryl would like to know, how long had you had pins and needles in L5 dermatome? Was it prior to surgery?
Yeah, that started about 18 months before. And it started during I was having a session with a personal trainer, and I was doing a squat. And as I was doing the squat, she was encouraging me to keep my lumbar curve. And that hurt. And she was kind of pushing me. She said, oh, no, do it, try to do it. And after that session in particular, I started to have those pins and needles. And I didn't have them when I was lying down. And it was very clear, like if I was standing up, I'm going to stand up right now, just move this over here. Like so, if I was standing up like this, and going over to this side, I'm going over to my right side, the pins and needles in my left leg would go away. Now, if I went over to this side, immediately I could start to feel them coming on. And right now, as I'm doing it right now, I can feel a shadow of it. but I'm totally convinced that they're going to go completely. So it was very mechanical. If I did this, they'd go away. If I did this, wait a few seconds, and then it would come. They would come down. So fortunately, all during this period, I could sleep, and lying down was comfortable. And if my back was painful previously, if I lie down for 10 or 15 minutes, most of the pain would go away. But I'm just I'm really happy now that I can. Like I went into Lisbon 2 nights ago, and I had to walk quite a bit, and it was a bit of a stretch for me. And then once I got into my seat and sat down, the pain disappeared, and I enjoyed the lecture. And the rest of the evening was fine. So the only exercise that the surgeon asked me to do, he said, the only thing you need to do now is walk for like at least a half an hour every day. And that doesn't have to be all at the same time. So I can do 5 minutes, or I can do 15 minutes. And so I'm starting to do that. And I'm looking forward to actually, going for walks.
Yeah.
My wife is a great walker and a runner as well. She's done 8 marathons. I'm very proud of her.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And she's signed up for the next Lisbon one. And we want to do the New York one. Well, when I say we go together, right? So, but
she does the running part.
I think she wants to do New York one more time. She did New York before, and that was a really great experience. But she's going to do the Lisbon one, and she's a great walker. And I think it's nice that hopefully in a little while I'll be able to join her on some of her walks.
Yeah.
So
is there anything else to tell us as to how you're getting on now?
Well, I think that one of the things, having time off, over all these years, I'm not in the habit of taking long holidays. So like I would have maybe a week off or a long weekend. And part of that was due to the fact that, if you leave the practice for more than 2 or 3 weeks, you lose the flow, and then it takes a while for it to come back again. So I've, with the help of Gilly and the team, I now have some associates, and I hope to have more. I have 2 associates at the moment. My plan is basically to get a couple of more and to have them working full-time at the clinic, and I'll be managing them. I'm looking forward to actually managing them and getting busy with doing social media. So I'll be in touch with Alex, because that's the thing I'm interested in right now. Is like, I want to know how it works. I want to make good videos. I want to get the information out there, and also to mentor the young ones, and not also I have they're not all, one guy's 30 and he's a Pilates teacher as well, and he teaches kite surfing. And I have Isabel, and she's like 50, I think she's 52 or something like that. She formerly was a civil engineer, decided to study osteopathy. So she has an interesting way of approaching, and they have totally different styles. And I always tell people, I've always told them, and I tell everybody, you've got to find your own style. You can admire somebody else's style and sort of want to do it like that, but you've got to do what feels right for you.
I always liken it to baking a cake, Jodi. Like I always say, if I gave 20 people my Victoria sponge recipe, every single cake would be different.
Yeah,
that's how I think of it.
But also, when you make the cake again and again and again, is it a little bit different each time?
Yes. Depending on how much of a rush I'm in.
Yeah.
We also want to know, Jodi, did you need to take any painkillers or anti-inflammatories since the operation?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had to take, I continued with the gabapentina for a while, and the anti-inflammatories, and I'm reducing them now. So I'm kind of going down. I'll get to the point where I don't need them anymore. And I have reflexology is a good painkiller, and my wife is a reflexologist as well as a runner. And lymphatic drainage, just normal massage, gentle osteopathic treatment, all of that helps. And I like being treated. It's really nice being treated.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to be the patient this time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I can completely, I'm completely into it. Like, take care of me.
Yeah.
I've when I look back and think that, I graduated in 1979. I studied. I was actually I started life as a psychologist, and while I was training at the BSO, the way I paid for that was by seeing patients in the 1 or 2 patients every day in the evening, and 4 or 5 on Saturdays. So I come from a psychological background, went into osteopathy. So it's like, when I think about it, it's incredible that I've got this 45 years of experience. And I, just for fun, I figured it out. It's something like 200,000 consultations that I've performed in that time. And the only reason I started to think about that is about 10 or 15 years ago, I went to a lecture of Laurie Hartman, and he was talking about, he said, oh, I've seen about 40,000 people. So, oh, 40,000 people, that's a lot. So I started to kind of think, how many did I see, over all that time? So 200,000 is a whole, that's like 2 Wembley stadiums, at least.
That's remarkable, actually.
So it's remarkable.
How many people you've got out of pain?
Yeah, but
you're allowed to be the patient now, Jodi.
But let me add this as well, because this is not the only sort of musculoskeletal problem I had, because I guess between the ages of about 45 and 55, I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, right? Which is a kind of inflammatory. It's basically very similar to rheumatoid arthritis. And,
I think Jodi, this might be what Cheryl was asking. Did you have any other issues in the LSP in addition to the disc issue, facet joint arthritis, osteophytes? And if so, did the surgery address these? Asking for a friend, she says.
Did you say
testing my abilities now to read these words?
Did you say osteophytes?
Yes, is that wrong?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's in Portugal, everybody's got osteophytes, and they have a special name for them. They call them bicas papagaio. And it means parrot's beaks, right? Because they kind of appear like a parrot's beak, and they look really nasty on X-ray, as you probably know, as the osteopaths listening to me know. If you look at an X-ray with an osteophyte, imagine a parrot's beak, right? And it looks really nasty. 99% of the time, it's not actually causing the pain. It's just the detail that you see. But people blame their back pain on their bicas papagaio. And no, did I have other? I went through, when I say I had rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, they kind of melt into each other, these inflammatory arthropathies, as you probably know. It's difficult to say it's one or the other. But there was a period where I had like pain I would say in all my joints. Imagine feeling like you have glass in your wrist, right? Or your foot. And sometimes the pain would flit around and be there for just like half an hour. And then sometimes it would stay and just destroy the joint. And in fact, in 1998, I think it was 1998, I had my talonavicular joint fused by the same surgeon, by the way, because the talonavicular didn't have any cartilage whatsoever, and the best approach was just to fuse it. And I was in a cast for about 3 months, which was a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
But it did take care of that specific pain. Now, at that point, at some point in time, I did see a rheumatologist, and the rheumatologist put me on something called methotrexate, which is a disease-modifying drugs. It's one of the early disease-modifying drugs. It's been around for like 60 or 70 years. And basically, it stops your body from producing antibodies against yourself and also against anything else. So when you're taking that, you're immune compromised, right? In a certain extent. But when I started taking, oh, and I also had a knee replacement.
You're like the bionic man, Jody.
Yeah. So I had the knee replacement. That was in 2008. That wasn't the same surgeon, but it was from his team. And when I go to the hospital now, they say, "Oh, you're back again, Dr. Jody." They call me doctor here. Say, "Yeah, I'm back again." And they always give me the best room in the house. I had a huge room with a view of the Tejo River and the bridge. It was really nice. And these days they give you, they give you a menu. You can choose meat or fish, and you can choose your dessert. The only thing you can't have is champagne. But
it's quite that good here, Jody.
But anyway, the knee replacement, by the way, in 2008, which was in February 2008, was just after I'd given a talk at there was a big osteopathic conference at that time to celebrate 10 years of regulation or something like that. And me and a young guy, Ronan O'Brien had started a website called Sacral Musings. I don't know if anybody had come in touch with that.
Yeah.
And we were like, I was the old hand, and Ronan was the young guy, right? Now I'm the really old hand. And this is the fascinating thing. There must have been like 3,000 osteopaths there. It was really a big event.
Yeah.
And I was on stage there, and I was talking. I had started an email group, a Yahoo group, in 2004 called Osteopathy for All. And in this group, it became quite popular. We had about 1,000 participants, and some months we would get 800 emails back and forth. So during those days, I actually learned how to communicate online, because we did have lots of bust ups. People would get angry at each other. People would, you know what can happen online, right? We even had, Godwin's law. Do you know Godwin's law?
No.
Godwin's law says that any online debate at some ultimately will start to talk about the Nazis and Hitler if it goes on long enough.
Oh no.
So anyway, the point is we had and I had started it because I was lonely in Portugal, and I wanted to have connection to other professionals, English-speaking professionals, and it became really popular. And I became known in the UK for that. But in 2008, when I talked about that on stage, I would say 80% of the crowd. It's hard to remember, but in 2008, the internet was just getting going, and most people were like, "Oh, come on, man! The internet's just for Viagra and dating, right? Now, how can we ever do anything with and exchange information on this kind of a platform?" And there was a lot of disbelief. It was incredible. It was really incredible. And that was in 2008. I think 2008 was the same year, if I'm not mistaken, that Steve Jobs came out with the iPhone.
Would have been about then, because I moved back then from Greece, and one of my best buddies who used to be out there showed me in Great Ormond Street Hospital her new iPhone, and I said I've got to have one because I needed to get a new phone back in the UK. So you probably, it's about then, yeah.
It was 2008 when the iPhone came out, and
Yeah.
at that time I still had a Nokia, because my first phone was a Nokia, and I loved
Yeah.
my Nokia. You know, and it always worked, and the battery lasts for a week, and all my contacts were there and everything. But I heard about this iPhone thing and Apple, and in 2011 I moved to the clinic where I am now, and I worked really hard that year because I wanted to make an impression, and I wanted them to I just wanted to make sure that I had made an impact at the clinic. And I had a terrific year, incredible year. And in August, I had one of the sort of most lucrative months I ever had. And I bought my first iPad in 2011.
Love an iPad.
And I was, from then on, I was just became an Apple fan. But getting back to my back again, I think that, you know, we need to work closer with the orthopedic people, with doctors and stuff like that. There are times, I mean, I think lots of patients or lots of people will refer to me because they know if I can't help them, I'll tell them where to go. And people come to me for advice, not just for osteopathy. Because I have somebody coming today about osteoporosis, and their wife has osteoporosis, and they don't know what to do, and you know they don't know if the medicine, what kind of medicine is good for that, or what kind of exercise that you can do, etc., etc. So I kind of consider myself to be a jack of all trades and a master of one. The one being manual therapy or manual medicine. Let's call it manual medicine.
Yeah, nice. Cheryl says, do they do this surgery for the cervical spine or just lumbar?
No, they do it for the cervical. And I think they've been doing it for the cervical even more. My son-in-law actually had it done about a year ago. He actually had it done before I did. And he lost the use of his left arm, I think it was, and he was just in constant pain. And they did the surgery. And he was asking lots of questions. He said, "What are the possible side effects?" He said, "Well, they're pretty successful, and it might affect your larynx, it might affect your voice, but probably not. But sometimes it does." And then he said, "Well, you know, you've been doing how much have they been successful? How many have you done?" He said, "Oh, I've done hundreds of them." And he said, "Well, how many did you have any disasters?" And he said, "No." So he went and had the surgery, and it cured him. And they went in through the neck, right over around there.
Wow.
And you can't even see the scar.
That's amazing.
So it's amazing. Yes, they do it for the cervical. And the problem is, I think, finding somebody who, I don't know about the UK, but I don't think many people do it in Portugal. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the cost. I mean, just the disc itself cost about 7,000 euros. And I had 2 of them. Plus the time in the hospital and the surgeon and the other surgeon, because I think they also work with a vascular surgeon to make sure that the the aorta and the vena cava don't get impacted. So that, they have the whole team going there. And and the MRIs before and the X-rays after. I would say the whole process, if you take into account the consultations I had before and the MRIs and exams, etc., you're probably looking at about 30,000 euros.
Goodness.
Now, fortunately, everybody, I have private insurance, and a lot of the time I kind of resent having to pay that money every month. But when something like this happens and it pays for like 90% of it or more, then you say, okay, that's it, man. We got to stick with this. Because it's your health and you don't want to wait in line. I know people have had to wait like 3 years to have their hip replaced.
Yeah, there's massive waiting lists here now.
So maybe some of you guys who are listening now, you can check to see if anybody does artificial disc replacement in the UK, and if it's available on the NHS, and what's the criteria for it. I suppose in the old days, or I guess another approach to dealing with my kind of the problem that I had would be to fuse the joints, would be to fuse the back. And that might you'll probably get rid of the pain. But the problem with that is people tend to have problems above and below the fusions. So you have a block, you have an area that doesn't move, then the area above and below start to degenerate a lot faster because they have to do all the movements. So it doesn't occur with artificial disc replacements, which the research, the studies tell us, the data tells us that they're 90% successful, about the same rate as knees and hips as well.
Cheryl says that GPs are advising patients to go for private consultations now just to get to see someone.
Well, that's I mean, it's a shame, isn't it? Because I mean, you have a national health system, and well, we have a national health system too. I mean, that's one of the reasons private medicine is growing in Portugal, is because of the emergence of private insurance. Private insurance has allowed the normal person to be able to afford health insurance. It's not that expensive. It's like probably for £200 a month, something like that, you could probably get a decent insurance that would probably be limited in what it covers. But at least you'll be able to jump the queue. And what I tell people as well is get the insurance before you get anything serious. Because if you get anything serious, they don't cover that. So even if you go in, let's say, this is really good advice. Go to a company that has different levels of insurance and get the lowest one, right? If you don't want to spend a lot of money, get the lowest one. So, but once you're in there, they can't get rid of you.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean? So maybe you find an insurance and you pay £50 a month for that insurance, but it doesn't cover that much, or the limits aren't that much. But at least you're in the company. And if you get something serious like kidney disease or a back problem or a heart issue, you can always up it.
Good point.
So what else can I say about it?
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you, how are you feeling about the next decade, Jodi?
Oh, I'm completely overjoyed. And one of the things I was going to say is having all that time off really refreshed my, you see things differently when you have 4 weeks off and you're from doing your physical work and having to also not having to clean up after dinner as well. That's kind of a nice one. You have a good excuse. You don't have to help out with
That's
dinner.
jam, that is.
And you don't have to take out the garbage. You know, so, but no, having time to reflect, you just start to see things more clearly. And I could clearly see that, you know, that what I want to do is to manage the clinic, to get young people in there, or it doesn't have to be young people, but get people in there, mentor them, make sure they're going in the right way, follow them. And I have ideas about doing podcasts and for patients and for practitioners as well, and doing consultations for osteopaths, being the osteopath's osteopath, and talking to people one-on-one. But I'm not exactly sure how that's going to form yet. Right now, I think the thing I really need to focus on is getting the young people busy, making sure that they're working well, and that all our patients are happy. Oh, and that getting away from getting away from the cult of Jody Jakob. You know, you have to go and see Jody Jakob because he's got magic hands. Well, you know, I would like to make the clinic like Saúde Integral is the name of our clinic. I want the clinic to have the name, not me. Because, okay, I've made a great name, but I'm limited in what I can do. And everybody wants to see Jody Jakob. Now, over the last 6 weeks, they couldn't see me. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people went to see my colleagues because they knew they couldn't, you know, usually they say, well, I can wait a week, you know, to see you. But 6 weeks is too long.
Yeah.
So my associates got a lot more patients because people didn't want to wait 6 weeks to see me. And I think the interesting thing as being a mentor and a supervisor is to get the best out of each associate, because they're so different. You know, people are so different, and some people are a bit. It's hard for them to take criticism. It's like, how do you help somebody when they're a little bit defensive, you know, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's okay, you know. Some people soak it up, and some people are a bit defensive. And my task now is, how do I teach those people? How do I teach those people? And so that they become better practitioners. I really want them to feel that I'm for them, you know, that I'm really there to help them. They're not just working with me and for me, but I want them to feel like I'm kind of supporting them in other ways as well.
Yeah, well, that's great.
So I'm looking forward to the next decade. God willing, you know, you never know, because life is precious. One, you know, I think one of the things that I've learned in the last couple of years, and everybody, you know this, but it's worth talking about, is that everybody has tragedy in their life. And it's, for me, the only thing that really helps to make that tragedy okay, and we all have various tragedies, is to have a purpose, and to help your patients, to help your family, to get involved in that, to do what you can to help your community, to have a purpose. That sort of makes life a little bit easier to live. And it's hard sometimes. Everybody knows that it's really hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. We're all having hard times. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that we're moving forward. I think this is a great time to be alive. Lots of people are saying, oh, we're into the internet, and what about those old days are gone and whatever. Well, what do you want to be? A bunch of Luddites? Go around breaking computers wherever you go? It's not gonna, this is not a fad. Email is not going away.
Yeah. Oh, we're on a very fast trajectory, I think.
We're on a fast trajectory, and it's going geometrically. And savor every minute.
Yeah.
One of the guys, for the last, one of the things I was a regular gym user, right? Until this happened. I used to go to the gym regularly, and I used to like having a sauna and a hydro bath. And one guy who I used to go there all the time. I met him there all the time. Every day he was there at 5 o'clock having his sauna, and he was always happy-go-lucky guy, singing, really happy. He just sold his house, made millions, starting to travel all over the world. He was only 61 years old. 2 weeks ago, he was taking a walk in the park right over here, and he died.
Jesus.
And G was going out walking with the dog, and she was there, and she helped give CPR and helped with the dogs because his dogs were going crazy and stuff like that. So I only say that to say, look, guys, life is precious, and even sometimes it's a pain in the ass, and the bills are coming, and I think the greatest detoxer in the world is gratitude. And even if you don't know what to be grateful for, just be grateful for the fact that you can see, or that that this is happening, or that you can breathe. And gratitude is a great thing. That's all I can say. And I'm really grateful that we're living at this time. I'm really grateful that, and I do believe that this surgery is going to be successful, very successful. And in 4 or 6 weeks, we'll do this again. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, we're very grateful to you, Jodi, for going through the surgery for us, so you can report back.
Yeah. And I sent that crazy message to you. One of these days we'll do a mastermind in Portugal.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Get a cheap flight to Lisbon. We'll find a place along the coast.
I'm up for that.
Even if there's 4 or 5 of us, we can still beam out to the rest of the world, right? To the rest of them.
Yeah.
While we're drinking our caipirinhas.
Right. I've got to go now, Jodi, because I've got to go search for flights.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and see you next time.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.